Hey, this is Notser, and this is Untitled. This week I want to talk about commander skills because it seems to be the topic of discussion. It does deserve to be that important, and I just dominated my stream, continue to discuss exactly what I would do, what I wouldn't do, why I think this skill is bad, why I think this skill is good, why I think some things are overrated. And it's not, I just want to talk about them. So, probably the most interesting thing I discovered, and hopefully I can show you why, but probably the most interesting I've discovered is that the secondary battery builds for battleships, the ones that can actually reach out and touch people, well, they're just getting buffed. Just straight up buffed. And we've got a max level commander, 19 skill points. This is roughly what I would do on my battleships. Any battleship that focused on secondary builds, and I'm going to talk about why I think that. So, initially, you've got to work your commander up, and the first skill you take is Catapult Fighter. And why do I take a Catapult Fighter? Because two fighters are better than one. I don't care how slow the other fighter is. It also is sort of a cheap hydroacoustic because the aircraft, you have twice the opportunity to stumble upon the torpedo systems that someone might send your way, right? You can detect around islands longer, you don't have to wait for it to come back around. It's pretty awesome, and it only costs 1 point. Some people are going to disagree with me. I've played a lot of games on the public test server. It just feels like it's probably the most solid pick for a battleship, and probably for a cruiser even. As you go to level 2, Expert Marksman. Expert Marksman is just what you take on a battleship. And there's really no other reason. You just have to traverse your guns. They have to get around in order to engage the target. The more time they're traversing, the less damage you can do. It's pretty straightforward. Now, this is a change. On my German battleship build, my secondary battleship, I was fire prevention, fire prevention, fire prevention. And fire prevention is still really good, but basic firing training is better. And the reason it's better is because it gives you more AA protection than it did previously. I believe they doubled the effectiveness from 10% to 20%. And it increases the damage that your secondary batteries do by having them reload faster. So I get in a situation where I'm just shooting out tons and tons of secondary fire on my enemy. I can visibly see their health pool dropping because the secondaries are that strong. So for me, if you're going a secondary build for a battleship, basic firing training is number one. Absolutely number one. Fire prevention is number two. And it's obvious. It combines two sources into one. The front and back half of the superstructure into one. It just increases the chance that you're only going to have one fire on your ship at any given time. You'll be able to deal with other threats better. It's just way better. It's just way better than it ever was, and it's almost too good. Although I do prefer to have a skill that's useful rather than complete garbage. And the third best skill for battleships, in my opinion, is vigilance. Why vigilance? Why not superintendent? Why not basic survivability? Well, basic survivability is the same skill. It only costs 3 points versus 1. It has to compete with a lot of abilities at this level versus level 1. Superintendent, it's great, but I'm never going to use all my aircraft, and very, very, very rarely will I ever use all my heals. I run exclusively premium consumables, and the premium consumable is nice because it lowers the cooldown, but it also adds another charge to the ability. So superintendent is useful if you ever get in a situation where you need that extra charge. I am not going to need more than 9 aircraft. Maybe once in every 20 battles, I'll need more than 5 heals. I would rather have something that actively improves my ability to do damage, protect myself from aircraft, reduce the fire damage I take, influence the information I receive on torpedoes. That all will always be helpful. It might be a lower level of helpfulness, but 5 or 10% sounds better in every single battle versus 30% in a single battle every 20 or 30 games, roughly. So that's why I went with basic firing training for my secondary build battleships. And you can see we're pretty top heavy with 3 level 4 skills. It's the new 3-4, right? Yeah. I pick up manual secondary, obviously. This is basically required. It just increases the damage output that you do. The HEAP, as I like to call it, the reason I'm taking this is because secondary battery is great. Most of it's HE. Some of it's AP, but most of it is HE. When the HE hits, it's nice to be able to penetrate and do a little bit more damage. Yes, it reduces the chance to light the target on fire, but you're just sending so many shells out. It's really overwhelming. Really overwhelming. And then advanced firing training, of course. These are just required. Advanced firing training, manual AA, or manual secondary. God, I always say manual AA. Always, 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 always. Manual secondary, manual secondary. They're required. This, you could choose. Maybe, maybe not. I think it is worth it. It increases the DPS you do with your secondaries. And that's the whole point of this build. Make your battleship even more powerful. You don't give up that much. If I had three skills that I would prefer to take, or I would like to take if I could, I would take fire prevention as my number 1. I would also take concealment expert because it's always nice to be concealed. And maybe, I don't know, maybe jack of all trades if it was 10% versus 5%. Yeah, I think fire prevention and concealment are the 2 skills that I would really like in my battleship if I could, along with all these for the secondary build. But this feels great. I was getting 40,000 points of damage done, and I wasn't playing very well. I was getting in close just to test it out. I was firing HE sometimes to test out only HE. Don't do that. This skill is purely for your secondary battery. It's not worth it to try and juggle HE and AP. Always have AP loaded. You'll have a higher rate of fire, which will net you more DPS for anything that you might lose by not using the precise ammo type. That's my opinion on when to use HE versus AP. Just fire AP. Sorry, just fire AP. Okay, so we've seen this, Notser. I just want to update you. It's always fun for me to talk about Untitled. I know this is not... I just felt like talking about this, okay? This is my Untitled, talking about commander skills and how people react. So, next up I want to talk about the North Carolina. Yes, the North Carolina. What build would you go on your North Carolina? Well, I'm glad you asked. I would probably go a build not like this. I would go something closer to this. I would go, of course, catapult fighter. It's just better. Expert marksman, because it's a battleship. Oh, what should we go now, Notser? I don't really know. Fire prevention is probably the best skill. You don't really gain much from the reload time on your secondaries because you're just not in range for the Americans. And, of course, concealment. You need concealment to even have a chance of survival. Now, we only have 8, but we will have 9 eventually. What would be the other skills you would take? Well, I would probably look to improve some aspect of my ship that is potentially improvable. I don't think secondary builds on the battleship is potentially improvable. It's just not as useful as you would probably hope it would be. I would probably lean towards something like a AA build for my Americans, because that's really all they're good for. I'm sorry, Americans. It's just the truth. The American battleship line is a super heavy cruiser. It wants to remain undetected for as long as possible. How does it do that? Well, it has great AA protection. Now, you could go double AA, but honestly, I think basic firing training will probably net you just as much AA improvement, and it's not going to require you invest 4 points into it. I could still invest 2 points into it and still have 2 points theoretically left over. So I could pick up High Alert, faster damage control, maybe Jack of all trades. There isn't really a good skill. Maybe even Adrenaline Rush. I don't know. I think Adrenaline Rush is probably way too situational. It's just as bad as Superintendent, in my opinion. But maybe it's worth it. Maybe that extra 1 second off would be the difference between killing the target and not killing the target. So I'm kind of up in the air with my American battleship line. I really do believe that you go concealment, you need to hide. I do like fire prevention. It's very good. Expert marksman, obviously. Catapult fighter. This is a really, really dangerous ship to fly around, right? It's really dangerous. So maybe that's just what the Americans have to do. They don't benefit as much as the other battleships from a secondary build. Okay, so we talked about battleships. The secondary build, Bismarck, obviously the same thing. That's just what I think. What about destroyers? Now, many of you like to tell me that I'm wrong, Notser. You're an idiot. Radio is the superior skill. Look at all these people talking about how great it is. You're right. It is a great skill. But I think it's ugly, and I don't want it in my game. I don't like the animation. I think it looks tacky. The fact that there is a hit indicator, a white hit indicator, on your screen the entire game is awful. I think it's ugly as hell. I think it screams to me that the graphics guys were told, okay, let's try this. Let's just put this in. Let's see what they think. I think it's awful graphically. I think it's terrible. I think it looks ugly. I hate it. So I'm not going to use it. But people will say, well, you're giving up a lot of power. It's clearly the best. Look at all these people that said it's the best. Yeah, look at all the people who said it's the best. I don't really value their opinion as much as you do. I value my opinion. I research this stuff. I try and look at it. So that's what I'm going to do. So, we are on a German destroyer. I think this applies to the American destroyer. I think this might apply to the Japanese destroyer. Obviously not the Soviet destroyer. The Soviet destroyers are different. But my first skill, preventative maintenance. Incapacitation to modules on a destroyer is a big deal, and this will help you the most. Priority target is good too, but honestly, it is sort of distracting to have to look up into a very tiny spot and pay attention to it. It's not as useful as I would have hoped for me. It just takes a little bit too much attention away from combat, I have found most of the time. So, preventative maintenance. Alright, that seems fine for a destroyer, right? Yes, it does. And last stand, of course. Last stand required. You know the deal. You have to take it as a destroyer. Okay. Well, now we're at level 3. And there are a lot of skills I want to take, right? I want to take faster torpedo arm. I want basic firing training for the faster rearm of my main battery. I want Superintendent for the extra charges on my consumables. I want Demolition Expert because more fires are great fires. And even to some degree, Vigilance is pretty cool. Yeah, you hear it. They basically moved all of the skills that the that the destroyers want to level 3. This is nerfed. This is nerfed. This is nerfed. This is nerfed. Everything is nerfed. Everything was nerfed. This was a level 1, well, level 1. This was a level 2, this was a level 4. This was a level, this was the only level 3. So imagine having fire prevention, emergency takeoff, superintendent, and vigilance. That was what you look for. That's what you choose between. And you're going, well, superintendent versus vigilance. Well, sometimes honestly, I know when torpedoes are coming. I can go and detect them. That's what I feel like. I feel like I know where torpedoes are. I know how to avoid them. Maybe it will help me survive 1 or 2 times. But I know torpedoes are coming. In the close engagement, I know they're coming. So I would take superintendent more often than not. 1 more smoke charge is worth it on my own. And I run out of smoke a lot because I use smoke to help people. Maybe boost as well. So that's what I was thinking. But now I want it all. I want every skill on level 3. So I'm going to commit to the whole idea that torpedo is the first thing you do in your Germans. And the same thing with my Japanese and my Americans. Make the torpedoes rearm faster so I can use them more often. Okay. Well, I think concealment is by far the most important skill in the game. Not just at level 4, but in the game, concealment is that important. It just straight up reduces the damage you take. It increases the information you have. It allows you to be more aggressive, more defensive. It's so good. I think you would take it if it was still a level 5, or a level 6, or a level 7. It just denies so much information to the enemy while giving you so much because you can get closer and be more effective at doing what you're supposed to do as a destroyer, which is, well, other than Soviets, gathering intel. Now, if you go by that logic, Notser, then you take radio position finding as well. And I am going to say, yes, you do. And here's my logic behind it. Because, yes, radio position is hideous. Absolutely hideous. I hate the graphic. I think it is. I think it's very ugly. But for that one game where you actually need information that the enemy is just not giving you, it's the most broken crap in the game. If you're an average to below average player, this is probably more important to you than concealment. Why is that, Notser? It's giving you an intuitiveness that you shouldn't have. Players have played thousands of battles to understand what each little hint is giving. Between situation awareness and turning on at a certain point and turning off, with island, line of sight, that sort of thing. Maybe someone's taking a capture point, maybe they moved away, maybe there's smoke. Maybe you see the enemy team aggressively pushing forward, like a battleship line. They're probably not doing that without support. They're crazy if they don't go with the destroyer. So you can read into what the enemy team is doing most of the time. The times that are weird is when someone is playing the game the incorrect way, I have found. Either it's a destroyer or a Japanese destroyer, and for whatever reason, the Japanese destroyers tend to do this, but it's a Japanese destroyer that wants to ignore the objective, ignore any target that is close or enemy destroyers, and all they want to do is go to the back line and try and take out aircraft carriers and stuff like that. That crap is completely countered by radio. But that's not how you're supposed to play the game. Nobody plays like that. Nobody really plays like that. The destroyer is supposed to kill all the enemy destroyers and play for the objective. Give intel to your team. Make your team stronger. That is not what the skill really counters. It doesn't counter the fact that someone is in the capture point. Oh, they're in their smoke. Never would have guessed that. Or, oh, it's a Soviet destroyer. Never would have guessed he was going to be right there. That's not what this skill counters. This skill counters weird play to me and very, very close ins. If it's 2 versus 3 or 3 versus 2, or it's, if there's a destroyer on the map, it's going to harm them. It's going to make them have to play the game differently. Especially if they're being hunted or whatever. So for me, I don't let the game get to this point. I take out every destroyer that I possibly can, and then I don't need it. I don't need this when there's only cruisers or battleships or aircraft carriers. It's irrelevant. It's very weak against those classes. It's just wasting information. It's telling someone that, oh, someone out there is detecting me. And I am the closest person to their position. Okay, if we look at a mini-map and I'm the closest person to their position versus anyone else on my team, that means this person must be somewhere over here. A general area, but that's the basic idea of the information it's telling the player. There was an instance on, what was it? Trap, right? Was it Trap? I was going over to A point, and all of a sudden I see radio. I see radio position going off on my screen, the Russian on my screen, because they haven't even worked on the intel that it's telling you. Okay, well, that means someone's going A. Because if I'm the closest target and someone of similar distance is going towards B point, and maybe they're a little bit ahead of me going towards the B point on Trap, then I am going to A. He would normally have that target selected for his radio. Makes sense, right? If he was going B, C strat, and I was going an A strat, he would most likely have the person in the center detected. Because I was detected going towards A, I broke off the attack. I did not go because I knew I was being detected by someone heading over to A or in the process of being between B and A. And I would not have known that without this skill. It is a double-edged sword. It's not a one-way street, I have found with this skill. But as long as it exists, it gives you a clear advantage in specific environments where you can go after that destroyer who thinks he's being so sneaky and not using his team at all or isolating himself or whatever. It's really, really strong against that. Those weird destroyers. So, I keep talking to myself. I really want to take these two skills. That's going to be 6 points. It's going to make it down to only 3. But if I take radio positioning, it's going to get me a free kill once every 10 battles. Possibly. How many kills am I going to get from a combined rate of fire and damage increase? I don't know. I think radio positioning is better, just knowing that it's going to get me 1 or 2 more kills. Higher rate of fire or higher chance to light the target on fire. What's our chance to light the target on fire right now? 8. I think I would go 2% more. Because as a German, you send your torpedoes and you dot the target. That's what you do. That's just what you do. So we have 2 points left. Smoke. Let's just take smoke. A good captain takes smoke, right? So this is what I'm feeling is a good destroyer build. A good US, Japanese, and German destroyer build. You play for concealment, you play to counter other destroyers, and you try and make sure you use your torpedoes as often as you possibly can. Plus you have smoke. This feels like a good destroyer build for those 3. Now there is a destroyer that doesn't really fall under this, right? Yes, the Soviet destroyer. They are very different, and that's not bad. So we're going to take preventative maintenance. It's a big deal. Steering, engine, all that stuff. Yeah. Last stand, Maybe less important that it has reduced, but it's still, you can't lose your propulsion or steering if you're an aggressive player like me. You just can't. Next skill, do we take basic firing training or demolition expert? That's a real tough one. This will help everything. This only helps when you use HE. So I'm going to lean towards basic firing. And then what's the next one? We need advanced firing training. We have no choice. We have to have advanced firing training. We need that range. We need to be careful. All right. Well, we've got 9 points left for the Soviet destroyers. And obviously Akizuki would use the same sort of build. I have tried HEAP with small caliber. It just doesn't feel good. It just really doesn't feel good. It feels like a chore. It doesn't make me feel any more confident with my ability. We could take concealment. We could take radio. Remember, radio is probably going to get its kill once every 10 battles or so. It's just straight up going to get us another kill. But it might get us killed, or it might discourage someone from getting killed because they have extra information about, oh, I'm detected. Oh, I'm the most in this direction. That must mean this person is right there, right? So it honestly could be a push on allowing a target to brazenly go into an area, or maybe they just ignore it. Maybe they ignore the warning signs. That's always, when in doubt, assume the worst in your opponents. It's a terrible thing to say, but honestly, it's probably the truth. It's probably the truth. When in doubt, not everyone is going to see that information and say, you know what? This is a bad sign. If I'm detected going for this objective, it must mean that I am the closest to this area of the map, right? I don't think everyone thinks exactly like that. But we're not everyone. We're going after everyone else, right? Now, we have 5 points left. We could take Demolition Expert and Smoke. That would be a useful thing to take for our team, I think. I think that's what you want to take for your team. Demolition Expert and Smoke. Is there anything I'm missing? Any blatantly? I mean, Survivability Expert's great as well, but it's just giving you more health. It doesn't really help you get more damage done. This is going to help you do damage and reduce the damage you take. This is going to help you do more damage, and sometimes it's going to reduce the damage you take or friendlies around you with the AA protection. Same with Last Stand. It's going to get you kills and protect you from dying. This is really just going to protect you from dying, but it's only 1 point. It's not a big deal. Demolition Expert is going to get you more damage, but it's not really going to help you survive. And I don't think anything else works like that. Superintendent, if you use all your charges, will help you get more kills and survive longer. But if you don't use up all your charges, then it's a wasted skill. So I think I'm going to go Demolition Expert and I'm going to go Smokescreen. That is probably the solid destroyer build that I would take. Soviet destroyer. This is a Soviet destroyer build. So you notice what I have to do, and oh man, I forgot. Advanced firing training is going to feel like it's necessary for a Japanese destroyer, isn't it? Yeah, that's a big deal. Man, Japanese destroyers just got nerfed even more. Oh man, it's bad, guys. It's bad. The Japanese destroyers are just so sad. Not the Akizuki, of course. The Akizuki, you want to play it like the Hubadovsk. You want a Hubadovsk build. You want to go after people. You want to be that bully. Remember, I think it's fair to say that radio is going to get you a kill every once in a while that you don't deserve, but it's also probably going to save some of the enemy, not from dying, but from getting you a kill. Yeah, because they'll read it correctly. They should, at least. So I don't know. For the Japanese destroyer, Akizuki is a bad example. For the Japanese destroyers, I might consider what I am giving up. So when I say that, obviously preventative maintenance, Last Stand, and sorry this is really long, but I really like talking about this stuff. We can go faster torpedo rearm, absolutely, and concealment, right? That's what you have to do. And 5 points. Oh, gosh. What's the range, the effective range of the guns? Oh, my God, it's so bad. Oh, 9.3, it's so bad. Oh, it's so bad. Oh, the Japanese are so bad. Oh, man. Honestly, I would probably go advanced firing training on the Japanese. I really would. Their range is that bad. Remember, I don't think radio is going to get you as many kills as everyone's saying. Yeah, sure. It's going to help you know exactly where or roughly where that person is. But let's take the skill out of the equation. If you're going towards an objective and it's being captured, but you can't see that person, it's a destroyer. It's a destroyer. If you're going towards an objective and there's smoke and they're capturing, the destroyer is in that smoke. Oh, I know, shocking, right? So there's a lot of elements to radio that are redundant for someone who is familiar with the game. Also, if you are detected and your detection is in a certain bubble, well, guess what? That enemy exists in that bubble. So I think having more range is going to protect you longer than if you were asked to use radio and get within 9.3? Was that a terrible range? Yeah, 9.3 kilometer range. Well, no, so you're just playing the game incorrectly. You need to use exclusively your torpedoes and never fire your guns. Isn't the whole point that they allowed you to use your guns more often? Wasn't that the whole point, right? Wasn't that the whole point? But 9.3 is so dangerous. That is so dangerous. It's so dangerous. So I think I'm going to go advanced firing training. I know that's blowing your mind. Maybe if we had a higher skill commander, we would pick up radio position as well. But I think you have to stay away from the enemy. As a Japanese, the Japanese are just weak. I mean, that's the real truth, unfortunately. Okay, so we've talked about a little bit of these. Let's go to cruisers. We've talked about battleships. We've talked about destroyers. Let's go cruisers. So, the Zao. Everyone likes to talk, hey, what's your build on the Zao? What's your build on the Zao, Notser? Well, this isn't the build. So, I think Catapult Fighter is just the best skill. If you have the ability to have aircraft out, I think it's the best skill. So, I'm going to take it. The Japanese have a tough time with their turret traverse, so we're going to take Expert Marksman. Now, as a Japanese, there's a lot of things you could do, but I think first and foremost, Demolition Expert is your bread and butter. Even though it's nerfed, you still take it, and of course you take Concealment. That's just the build. So theoretically, we will have 9 more points to go. I have tried HEAP. I do not like it. It just doesn't feel good on my 203mm guns. You really want that high chance to light the target on fire and just light the target on fire. Whenever the guy's angled, you switch to HE. That's just what you do. You fire AP when they're broadside. That's just what you do. This doesn't feel as beneficial, especially when you consider it's 4 points. And it doesn't impact your other skill. It doesn't influence AP at all. If you fire AP, it's an irrelevant skill. So yeah, I just don't really like it. The reason I like it on secondary battleship builds is because whenever you get in secondary range, it's always giving you benefit. It's always helpful because you're always firing HE from those. So I'm not a fan of this as much as I thought I would be for cruisers. So now we have 9 points. We could go radio. It'll get us a free kill every 5 or 6 games or so. We could go AA spect, although I don't really like AA spect, especially Japanese. They just can't do it well enough to really care. Is there a skill that I would take on a Japanese that would be, well, maybe torpedo armament? Although I don't know. Fire prevention seems to be a good idea, as a Japanese because you will be lit on fire, and reducing the chance that the fire is on your ship is nice. I think I would go radio, just because getting a free kill every 5 or 6 games feels nice. And I can manipulate it to where I'm not giving them too much information. You need to do that as well. I think we have 4 points. We'll have 5 points. What would I get? What would I get? Boy, there's not a lot of good skills for cruisers, are there? Cruisers are kind of shafted. Yeah, cruisers are kind of shafted. I don't like skills where you can't get all the benefit from. It just really hurts. You know, maybe superintendent. Maybe superintendent. It's not terrible. And plus, you're going to be able to use more heals, right? They don't get... Yeah, they only get 3 heals. That is significant. Battleships get 5, right? Battleships get 3 heals by default. The Zhao, yeah, I think superintendent is what you want. It seems that they've just loaded down battleships with more, sorry. Yeah, I think superintendent on a cruiser is probably what you want to go. And then we have 2 points left. We could get, oh man, I don't know. I don't know. Probably priority target and preventative maintenance. There are times where your steering is knocked out and it sucks. Maybe this will help you out. If it helps you out once every 10 battles or 20 battles, it's worth the 1 point, I think. And obviously I don't have a 19-point commander, but I'd probably go priority target. This seems like a good generic cruiser build. You could swap for a full AA build. I mean, really, full AA build. Could you imagine a full AA build? In fact, can we imagine a full AA build? Let's go, let's go. Where is a... I'm going to go a Des Moines full AA build, just so I could, like, say I did. If we can. 2, 6, 10. Oh, it's going to be close. Oh, it's going to be close. Let's just do it. Do it. Oh, it's not going to be close. I did it wrong. Did it wrong. Alright, so we're the Des Moines. We're the Des Moines. Let's see. And yeah, this Untitled is just a little casual. I just care about this stuff a lot, and I just want to talk about it. Oh no, you can't go catapult fighter on Russians or... Yeah, you can't go catapult fighter on Russians, British, or... Yeah. Okay, okay. Alright, that's understandable. You know what? Honestly, with radar, you might want to go jack of all trades to get all that stuff back up quicker. That might be the best build. That really might be the best build. So this is an AA spec build. You can obviously swap in and out stuff that you don't like. Concealment... What's the steering? 8. Ugh, 8 is bad. Let's go, you know, maybe 6. Ugh. It's bad. Wow. You kind of really need that concealment. Man. Yeah, I don't know how effective this is going to be because we do need concealment. It's just... We just need it. Alright. So, obviously, don't take catapult because you won't be able to use it. Preventative maintenance. Faster turret traverse is always, well, how useful is it? How useful is it? 30 seconds? Yeah, I think faster turret traverse. You'll notice it. You'll notice the traverse. Yeah, 4 seconds, 3 seconds. Yeah, I think that's worth it. And then, yeah, AA build. I still think concealment is necessary, so I'm going to go concealment. And then we'll go that. Yeah, so we have 6 points, 3 more points. We will be able to get manual. So we'll be able to get 3 more points. And I think you take manual fire control armament, and you get probably get priority target for an AA spec Des Moines. And your AA is going to be ridiculous. It's going to be ridiculous. Now, I've heard some people say, oh, why don't you go Jack of all trades and then you get that other skill? That actually might be useful. Because let's see. If we mount November Foxtrot, that makes our consumable, the rearm is 114 versus what it would be is 120, right? So we go that. Maybe we go Jack of all trades, of course. Basic firing training. Boy, man. You're really giving up a lot to get AA spec. Because I would also like Superintendent too to have the extra charge. But you do have an extra charge of defensive fire. That is nice. Yeah, manual AA though. How many guns do you have over? How many guns do you have over? Only this set, but it does a significant amount of damage. Well, no. Yeah, maybe. So now it's down to 108. That's pretty sick. That's a pretty sick reduction. You can have this up way more often. Same with that. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, having that stuff up more often. You don't really give up that much, too, to have just extra AA range and stuff like that. It's intriguing. It's intriguing. This might be what you would go on both the American and the Soviet, and you're just an AA spec. So, oh, well, did I get this guy up high? Yeah, he's up high. Oh, yeah, he's up high. Yeah, he's up high. Wow. Yeah, he's way up high. Yeah, you could definitely turn this into very easily. Oh, it has 1 less charge. Oh, man. That might be a big deal. That might be a huge deal. And you could very easily turn this into what is not as useful as it could be. Well, detonation is not as useful as it could be. We could increase the AA. We do. And then modules. What's the build? Yeah, it's not too bad. It's not too bad, actually. Yeah. What's the turret traverse? 20? Yeah, honestly, for Soviets, you could be an anti-air. You could be anti-air. You go Jack of all trades. You go basic firing training. You go concealment. You go advanced firing training. You go manual AA. Alright, let's just make sure. Let's make sure that there's actually a reason to go manual AA. Oh yeah, there's a reason. There's a reason. Yeah. And then, yeah. Priority target. That seems like a really good, supportive cruiser build. That feels pretty good. That feels pretty good, honestly. And these are going to be up more often. Yes, you only have 3 charges, and yes, I would say that maybe consider picking up Superintendent, because you are... because you are going to get in a position where you might use it too much, but yeah. Yeah, I think this is a pretty good build. I think this would be a really interesting build. I might try these builds. But yeah, I think if you want to go pure damage as a cruiser, if you want to go a anti-cruiser build, obviously don't use this if you're using the radar of the Soviet, oh, we could go Brits. We gotta go Brits too. Brits, what's Brits? Okay, so Brits, what did we do? What did it do? Obviously, we don't want demolition. Obviously, it doesn't have a large caliber gun. Right? Yeah, 152. Doesn't benefit for that. So for the Brits, yeah. I think these are... So we've got, what, 4 skills left. Huh? What's the turret traverse? It's pretty slow, honestly, on this Leander. But it will get faster, that's the thing. It gets way faster as you get up for the Brits. Yeah, I feel pretty good with the smoke screen effect. I think you should take that. I think that's a very solid pick for 2. You can't take defensive fire anyway, so that's a big deal, that you can't take defensive fire. Yeah. Yeah. There's no reason you would ever take this. Well, let's just redistribute. So, let's go preventative maintenance. Let's go smoke. Let's go... Oh boy. Useless. Not very useful. Yeah, I think you go superintendent. I think that's the only thing you could take. Or torpedo armament. I think superintendent's more useful than torpedo. Look at the charges. Look, you only get 3 charges. Yeah, I think superintendent is more useful. I think you would definitely use up 3 charges. And then, of course, concealment. Radio, it's going to give you a kill every 6 or 7 games, just because the player doesn't know how to use it or counter it. So we'll take that. We'll take radio. And, so we have 5 points left. 5 points left. Yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe faster torpedo rearm? And jack of all trades? Maybe faster turret traverse? That would be, what, 5, right? Yeah, 5 points. We have 5 points to do. Yeah, that might be it. I mean, the longer your turrets are traversing, the lower damage you do. Yeah, that's probably it. You could also, yeah, pretend like I can take this skill. You could also go an AA spec build later on. But that sort of feels British to me. That feels right for what the British want to do. So we've covered the battleships, we've covered the destroyers, we've covered the cruisers. Let's cover the aircraft carriers really quickly. I'm sorry, I'm engrossed in the aircraft and everything. It's fun for me to think about this. Okay, so people have reminded me, this is only when you drop your load. Yes, I meant to say it like that. Aircraft servicing expert. It's just straight up the best one. Expert rear gunner. Adrenaline rush doesn't really help you at all. Consumables. Faster torpedo acceleration. I think it's worth it for the aircraft carrier. Now, people have said to me, it's very rare that you are ever on fire. And this is true. You know what? Fire prevention is probably a better skill. Boy, this is a weird one. There isn't really a good skill over here. There's just not really good skills for aircraft carriers here, isn't there? It increases your bomb chance. 2%. What's the bomb chance right now? Bombers. Does it even say? HE bomb? It doesn't list the HE bomb? Really? It doesn't say. Well, let's just assume it's going to increase your damage when you bomb. And then for this one, obviously, air supremacy. So we have 9 skill points left to go. Oh yeah, torpedo rearmament. Gosh, I'm an idiot. You want this one first. You want this over demolition, but both of them, well, if you're an American, you maybe take demolition expert. I don't know. Torpedo armament. Now we will have 3. So we've got 7 more points. 7 more points. Okay, 7 more points. So we got rear gunner. Increases your damage protection. Dogfighting. Just gives you more ammo. Seems pretty good. Is there anything else? I don't really know. I mean, maybe if you have a 19 skill commander, you can afford to spend 3 more points. I mean, out of 7 points left or 6 points left, it'll allow me to get this, this, and this, right? That feels pretty good for aircraft. Maybe AA protection for yourself. That could be good too. Interesting. Interesting. This is very interesting. AA protection might be more beneficial. Interesting. Very interesting. Alright, well, I don't really know exactly. I could see a build where you take this and you take this. I could also see a build where you take this and you take like that, just to protect yourself. I could see that. I could see that. But notice what it says. It makes it possible for you to launch your aircraft and recover, but whenever your carrier is on fire, it doubles the time it takes for aircraft to service. Doubles the time. So if it takes your aircraft, if it takes your aircraft, oh god, it doesn't even say. This is how bad the UI is, aircraft guys? It doesn't say how long it takes to rearm? Oh. No, it doesn't. It doesn't say. Wow, this is terrible. I can't believe that. It doesn't say. Does it? No, it doesn't. Oh, does it say here? No, it doesn't. Wow, am I just a dumb butt? Am I just a dumb butt? It doesn't say how long it's going to take to rearm. That's great. So if it takes 45 seconds to rearm, it's going to take you 90 seconds to rearm while on fire. So it's basically going to take you the entire time that fire is going to exist on your ship in the worst case scenario to rearm that fighter. What you would hope to do is to send your fighter out. Just get real lucky and have it ready to go immediately. That's really the only reason you would benefit from the faster the protection for aircraft. It's a huge debuff to the point if you're actively trying to have an aircraft on deck, then yeah, it's not going to do it. It's not going to do it for you. They've definitely nerfed it. It's definitely not as strong as it should be. So, yeah, hopefully you Gosh, man, I hope you... Hello, it's Mickey. I hope you understand why I'm like, plus 100% to aircraft servicing time. Well, when you have stuff like minus 20% to servicing time of torpedo bombers, you're looking for the minus. That plus is bad in the way they're working it out. It's increasing the time it takes, not decreasing the time it takes to service them. I'm sure that whenever the fire is put out, it's just a global scale and it will just go right back to where it should be if you didn't have the debuff on. So let's say that for every 2 seconds that pass, you gain 1 second in servicing time off of the rearm. And let's say you're on fire for 20 seconds. Okay, 20 seconds of being on fire is going to net you 10 seconds off of your servicing time under normal circumstances. Because obviously 10 is obviously 20 is twice as much as 10. Just trying to say it right. So is it really helping you that much? I don't think it is, honestly. I don't think it is. I think your damage output's better. I think maybe AA protection is better. AA range. I think that honestly will help you stay alive more and keep the fire off you. But let's be honest, nobody plays aircraft carriers. Alright. So this Untitled was just me talking about ships. I have had so much fun just theory crafting all this stuff. I really hope you appreciate that. The streams have been great. I really enjoy them. I really appreciate all the enthusiasm when you guys comment. And yes, I know This video is long. I'm sorry. It's not particularly exciting outside of discussion. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you next time.